John D. Rockefeller didn't just own oil. He owned the pipes, the refineries, the railroads, and the laws that governed them. By 1890, Standard Oil controlled roughly 88% of oil refining in America. That's not dominance, that's a stranglehold. Most people assume this happened because Rockefeller was smarter or worked harder than his competitors. The textbooks say he won on merit. They're wrong, and the real story is far more instructive about how fortunes actually get built. Rockefeller didn't invent oil refining, he didn't discover oil. What he did was something more useful. He understood that the real money wasn't in the product, it was in the system. In 1870, Standard Oil was one refinery among dozens. 20 years later, it was the system itself. His method was vertical integration before anyone had a name for it. He bought refineries, sure. But he also negotiated secret rebates with railroads. He undercut competitors on shipping costs they couldn't see. He made deals with pipeline operators. Every link in the chain, he controlled it or he influenced it. Here's where most histories stumble. They frame Rockefeller as a villain, a ruthless monopolist crushing competition. True enough, but that framing misses the incentive structure entirely. Nobody in this story is stupid. Look at what they were paid to see. The railroads got guaranteed volume. The pipeline operators got steady customers. Rockefeller got scale. The antitrust case that broke Standard Oil apart came in 1911. The Supreme Court ruled the company was an illegal monopoly. Rockefeller was 71 years old. The breakup was presented as a victory for competition, for the little guy, for free markets. And it was, technically. But the timing matters. By 1911, Standard Oil had already extracted its wealth. The refining margins had compressed. Competition was coming anyway from Texas, from Oklahoma, from international producers. The breakup didn't harm Rockefeller. It freed him. His shares in the successor companies, Standard Oil of New Jersey, Standard Oil of New York, Standard Oil of California, were worth more separately than they'd been together. He didn't lose the antitrust case. He converted his monopoly into a portfolio. And that's where the second act begins, the one nobody talks about with the same intensity. Rockefeller spent the last 40 years of his life giving money away. The Rockefeller Foundation, established in 1913, became one of the most influential philanthropic institutions in American history. It funded medical research, public health initiatives, agricultural development, educational institutions. The narrative shifted, from robber baron to enlightened philanthropist. This is the critical pivot. The philanthropy wasn't separate from the business, it was continuous with it. By funding medical schools, he shaped which research got done and which didn't. By funding agricultural programs, he influenced farming practices worldwide. Influence, in other words, just a different kind. The real story, then, isn't about a monopolist being broken up by regulators. It's about a man who understood that controlling supply chains and controlling narratives about health, education, and progress serve the same function. They shape what's possible. Rockefeller's wealth didn't come from being the smartest refiner. It came from understanding systems, how to lock them up, how to leverage them, how to convert them into influence. When the legal system forced him to release the industrial system, he simply moved into a different one. The system of knowledge production. That's not cynicism, it's pattern recognition. The Standard Oil monopoly and the Rockefeller Foundation operate on the same principle: control the bottleneck and you control the outcome. In oil, the bottleneck was refineries. In medicine and education, it's funding and institutions. This matters because it explains how fortunes sustain themselves. Rockefeller didn't just accumulate wealth, he built the institutional scaffolding to preserve it and extend its reach across generations. The money itself became less important than the leverage it purchased. By the time Rockefeller died in 1937, Standard Oil's breakup was ancient history. His foundation had become the template for American philanthropy. Universities were being built with his money. Medical research was being shaped by his priorities. The industrial monopoly had simply evolved. The lesson isn't that monopolies are good or bad. It's that wealth consolidation and influence consolidation follow the same logic. Whether you're controlling oil refineries or funding medical schools, the mechanism is identical. Create dependencies, shape outcomes, preserve optionality. Standard Oil was broken up because it was too powerful. The Rockefeller Foundation was celebrated because it was philanthropy. But both were tools for the same thing: leverage. Understanding that distinction, or rather, understanding that there is no real distinction, changes how you read the history of American industry and wealth. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. If you want to understand how wealth actually works, not the sanitized version in textbooks, but the mechanics of it. Subscribe. There's a new case study every week on this channel exploring the business logic behind empires, fortunes, and the systems that hold them up. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into how great fortunes are actually built and preserved. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.